The Online Entrepreneur Motivation Series, discussing ideas, strategies, and mindsets to help online entrepreneurs become more successful. And you know, just by looking at the title here, that if you do not deal with fear, that your level of success will always be capped. And that's what we want to do with today is we want to discuss how to deal with, how to conquer, how to work through our fears so that they no longer stop us and we can reach whatever level of success we determine we want in our lives. But start by this. Start by realizing that the average person in our world, when we look around us, is fear-based. I mean, look right now at your neighborhood or your circle of friends or even in your family. And look at the moves and decisions and ideas that people carry around with them. Most people are fear-based. If you look at somebody that has a really crappy job and they've never done anything about it, they're fear-based. They're staying there because they're too afraid to do anything about it because they're afraid of what might happen if they quit and go out on their own. Or if you look at somebody who lets people walk all over them because they're too afraid to confront those people and deal with the problem, and so they get stuck in this prison of effectively their own fears because they worry about what might happen if they actually take some corrective action to deal with the problem. And these are just two little examples, but this is stuff that plagues people in our everyday lives when we look around us. People are fear-based. And if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you must overcome this. You cannot be a fear-based individual. You cannot make decisions that are fear-based. And so how do you move yourself out of that trap? Well, it starts by becoming aware. Becoming aware of how your fears are holding you back. How certain fears are creeping into your life and stopping you from taking actions that you probably know you need to be doing to be successful, but you're not doing them because of these fears and because of something you're probably imagining is going to happen. Whether it will or not is yet to be determined because you haven't taken the action. But your fear of it happening is stopping you dead in your tracks, and it's perpetuating a cycle of failure because you keep doing the same things over and over again that are producing these results that you don't want. So becoming aware of how your fears are holding you back is very, very important, but it also requires that you become aware of what fears exist in general. What kind of fears do you have? Are you fearful of confronting somebody? Are you fearful of making a presentation? Are you fearful of putting your work out for scrutinization or criticism because you just don't think you can handle other people's negative opinions of you? There is probably a laundry list of things that every entrepreneur has to deal with when it comes to fears that hold them back, but until they look these fears in the face and start understanding the implications of them, of what it's actually costing them to invest in these fears, they never do anything about it. So start thinking about that. What kind of fears do you have? And more importantly, how are those fears actually blocking you? And you can do this by studying your fear. And that starts with decomposing your fear into the root cause or the origin, or ultimately understand why you have the fear to begin with, at least to the best of your ability. So let's use an example of public speaking, which is a common one. Most people are actually afraid to speak in front of a group of people, but they just leave it at that. They just say, well, I'm afraid of public speaking, and they just don't do it. But let's actually assume you're a successful or aspiring to be a successful entrepreneur, and you want to deal with this problem once and for all. So you look at the problem. Okay, the problem is I'm afraid of speaking. Well, why? Well, because I might get up there and forget my lines, and it's going to look really, really bad. I'm going to look like a fool. Well, have you looked like a fool before in your life? Or have you dealt with problems where you kind of put yourself in a situation where you couldn't deliver? Were you able to recover from that? And if you really are honest with yourself, you know the answer is yes. You've screwed up in the past and you've recovered from it. Maybe your ego was a little bruised, but time heals all wounds and you dealt with it. So the ultimate fear in this situation is screwing up and looking a little foolish for a while. Well, hey, you're an entrepreneur. You better be able to handle looking like a fool once in a while because you're going to make mistakes. That's just the nature of the game, not just in entrepreneurship, but in life. However, if you don't actually do this exercise, if you just say, I'm fearful of public speaking and don't take it a step further, then you'll never do the action of public speaking. You just won't because you don't understand the root cause of the fear. But if you take a little further here and rationalize a bit, it makes more sense. Then you can actually go to step 2 here, which is studying your fear responses. So you're about to deliver the speech and you say to yourself, man, I'm really scared. Well, what does that actually mean? What physically happens to you? Does it mean that your chest is pounding, your hands are shaking, you're sweating a little bit? I don't know. Everybody reacts differently with different physical sensations when they're fearful. but actually studying it and realizing what the fear response manifests like in your body can help you deal with it. And that actually can help you anticipate it in the future. If you're feeling fearful now, and these are the symptoms that you're seeing, the next time you feel fearful, you actually realize, hey, I'm getting the same symptoms. This is just fear. Did I deal with it last time? Yes, I did. That's a basis for success. I can do it again. And it's really interesting. I've heard Tony Robbins tell the story of Bruce Springsteen talking about how excited he gets before a concert, and he explains the physical sensations of his chest being tight and all these different things going on in his body. And to him, that signifies to his brain that he's ready. And then another artist who had the exact same sensations, whose career actually faltered for a while because she thought she was dealing with stage fright, experienced the exact same things. Bruce Springsteen learned to anticipate those physical sensations as excitement, where this other person was anticipating or interpreting it as fear-based. And it's neither here nor there. It's the fact that one person decided to work through it and go with it and make the best of it, and the other person let it stop them. So the final thing here is recall situations where your fear was exaggerated, which is almost always, right? Going back to the fear of public speaking, you may feel the physical sensations like you're about to die because you're just so scared to speak. Is that a reasonable state of physical being to be in just because you're delivering a speech? And you know the answer is no. It's not really reasonable for you to feel that much terror just because you're getting up in front of a group of people to speak. They're not going to slay you or throw bows and arrows at you because you did a bad speech, yet your body feels as though your life is being threatened. So it's not really realistic, yet our fear exaggerates how intense it really is for us. And that's why you want to study your fears. So anytime you have something that is fearful and that is actually blocking you from taking actions that are going to help you succeed, this is a process that you can go through to actually come to grips with what the fear really is all about. Next, you need to develop a hate of fear so that you can act in spite of it. And this quote is beautiful. It says that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to proceed in spite of it. Now, you might look around at some really successful entrepreneurs and you might think to yourself, wow, look at what they can handle. Look at the things they do. They're getting on TV and they're speaking to thousands of people. I could never do that. They have so much more natural courage and they have fewer fears than me. And that's just BS. It's not true. Those people have learned how to act in spite of their fears. Some of the most successful people are actually incredibly nervous. They hate getting up in front of crowds, but they do it anyways because they've conditioned themselves to have true courage, to act in spite of fear. So get out of this mindset that says, well, I'm fearful and they're not. Everybody's fearful. The people that you aspire to be like have just learned how to deal with it and move through those fears. And maybe the fears don't grip them as strongly as they used to because they've made a habit of working through it. And now you have to make the same habit as well in your life. So let's do that with the following exercises. First, make a list of anything that you are nervous, afraid, or fearful of. Make as long of a list as possible so that you can become consciously aware of all of your fears. Next, make another list of how these fears prevent you from getting what you want. This will actually make you angry, and it should, because you're building up this huge pile of fears, and they're stopping you from getting these things that you really want in your business, or maybe in your life as well. So that should make you really, really angry. So now you can make the third step here, which is a commitment to act in spite of these fears. You're going to do it. You're going to feel the fear and do it anyway, which is the title of a book, but it's beautiful advice. So you're not going to worry about getting rid of these sensations of anxiety and things that you feel when you're fearful. You're just going to realize that they're going to happen, but I'm still going to do this anyways. And once you make a habit of doing that, you have conquered your fear, you've managed your fear, and now you can begin to take all kinds of actions to grow your business and become that much more successful as an entrepreneur.